Hey everybody, welcome to this quick video about multifamily property classifications. My name is Joseph Gozlan. I'm from Eureka Business Group. My email is on the screen in case you have any questions at the end of this video. So if you're looking into multifamily investment, you always hear about this property is class B, this property is class C, this is a class A property, this is a class D area. So what is it about? So we took a few minutes and did this quick video. Um, it's important to understand there is two different classification when we talk about multifamily. There's the property class and there's the area class. The property class is really about the buildings, the physical property that you're looking to buy and what its physical condition, how old the buildings are, what kind of amenities that the community offers, what kind of demographics go and rent in property like that. And then there's the area class, which represents basically the neighborhood, the submarket, the zip code of that property. And it's very similar in terms of what we're looking for, demographics and age and so on. But we're looking at the area, we're looking at crime rates, we're looking at accessibility for public transportation, major roads, what kind of retail is in that area. Is there a shopping strip? Is there a mall? And so on. So these are the two different classes that we're looking at when we're talking about multifamily properties. Before we dive into the actual classes that the area and the property has, let's talk about classes in general for a second and why do we use them in multifamily investment. Well, the first thing is when somebody tells you the classification of a property, you kind of immediately knows what kind of demographics you're going to deal with. How's the area going to look like? And what's the condition you should expect when you get out to the property and take a look at it. Classes also impact the cap rate of the property. The higher the class, the better the property condition and the better the property is, the lower the cap rate it's getting traded at. And immediately, by the way we evaluate multifamily properties, which is NOI divided by cap rate, it increases the price of a property. Another thing to pay attention to in classes is this is not black and white. It's a sliding scale. So you'll have between the A class and the B class, this is going to be A minus, B plus, right? And then you go to B, B minus, C plus, C, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of gray. You will also notice that a lot of people will grade a property or classify a property differently than you would. When you look at pro forma marketing from a broker, for example, it will always be pink and nice and shiny and rainbows, right? So it'll always show a higher classification than the property really is usually. And then the one thing that you really have to understand that when you look at a property, the classification of the area is usually a lot more important than the classification of the property itself. And the example we have on the screen is if you can find a C class property in an A class area, which means a poor condition property in a wonderful neighborhood, then you can upgrade it and you can make it an A class property or a B plus property. So really, that's a unicorn. That's what every investor really dreams of, finding that diamond in the rough. But you can also go to the worst neighborhood in town and put a wonderful, beautiful building in it. Don't expect a line of lawyers and doctors in the waiting list trying to come in, because the neighborhood is not as safe as they need it to be in order to pay the premium for an A-class property. So that's a few words about classes, and now we're going to switch over and go into the actual area and property classification. So we're starting with the area classes. As I mentioned, it's more important than the actual property class. Class A area is the best of the best, right? It's the best neighborhood in town. It's the most expensive homes in the immediate area. It's the best schools. It's the lowest crime rate. It's the new shiny retail center right around it. It's close to the shopping malls that just opened. It's the best of the best, right? And there's sub classes like AA, AAA, depending on really how fancy and how luxurious the property is. Class B area is basically the A class of yesterday. It's about 6, 7, 10 years old area where the neighborhoods are starting to mature. Still expensive homes, still great schools, but it's not as nice and pretty and shiny as the A class environment that we just talked about. Class C area is really where there's a lot of property that fall into this category. These are usually the decent neighborhood, older 60s, 70s, 80s areas, the older parts of town. The schools are not the best in town, but they're not the bottom of the list. They're pretty decent. The community that lives in this area is usually blue collar people, lower income in terms of it's not below poverty, but it's not IT crowd that gets paid way above average. And D class is really known in the industry as war zones, right? If you don't feel comfortable sending your wife or your mom or your girlfriend over there at night, that's a D class, right? If you need a couple of German Shepherd to walk you when you go look at the property, that's a D class. So D class represents higher risk. It represents lower safety environment, high crime rate in the neighborhood, drugs, gangs, and so on. So that's D class properties. When we look at a property itself, at the buildings, the construction, the property itself, the A class properties are usually less than 2-3 years old. It will have beautiful pools, like resort style. Might even have a bar next to the pool. It will have a nice big clubhouse, laundry facilities that has brand new machines in it. Could be great gyms, lap pools, sauna. Really, there's a lot of trends in the industry when it comes to making these facilities a lot more attractive to younger and more affluent crowds. Obviously, we expect the A class properties to be in the A class areas, which means whoever lives there is close to the shopping center, is close to the major workforce environments where the big employers are. The rare occasion where we'll see an A class property and not a still yet A class area is where we have neighborhoods that go through gentrification process. So that's where you'll see A class properties popping up next to these areas. B class properties are very similar to B class areas. That's the A class of yesterday, right? A few years ago, this was built 6, 7, 10 years ago. Still have granite countertops, still have stainless steel appliances. It will have most of them, and it is not caught up to the trends, but it will have a great gym and great pools and laundry facilities and a clubhouse and so on. And this is usually early 2000-ish to 2007. The demographics we find in B class properties are usually professionals and young families and tenants that really have higher than average income. C class properties are the bread and butter. These are not very exciting, decent condition properties, usually built 60s, 70s, 80s eras. They will show obvious signs of wear and tear. It's been a few decades since they were built. Nothing exciting in terms of amenities. They will usually have a clubhouse or a pool or both. Definitely a laundry facility. But that's about it. Don't expect to find any big gyms or lap pools or saunas or anything like that in these properties. C class is probably the biggest category we could find, mostly because it spans across multiple decades. And the range of conditions you would find in a C class is pretty amazing. You can find a C class that is just run down because it's not maintained well, and it will go to the C class, C minus classification. And you can find C class property is a C plus property where it's well maintained. It feels like a community. and the owners really take pride of ownership in that property. And then D class properties goes back to, first of all, it's a D class area where it resides, right? And then these are poor condition properties. The rents will be very low compared to the rest of the market. Most of the tenants in this kind of property will not have a steady source of income, right? So no jobs, random temps jobs, and situations like this, welfare, food stamps. That's the kind of property tenants that you will find. Um, Not uncommon to have properties that are in the middle of a gang war between a couple of gangs, have drugs on property, high crime rates in and around the property. So really that's the D class properties. So just a few more words about classifications of properties and areas, right? The reason we have that is not only to be able to kind of determine the cap rate and look at the value of the property based on the amenities and its age and its condition. It's also about how the economics shift the demand and supply in the market. So when you have a strong economy like we have today, and it's 2017 March, then the A class tenants really, they go and they can afford and they buy a house. And B class tenants upgrade to an A class apartment, C upgrades to B, and D upgrades to C. So everybody move up because the economy is great. People have jobs. People earn a lot more money, so everything is going great. Well, when the economy tanks and when things go south, people want or have to downgrade. Back in '08, a lot of people just lost their houses. Well, these people didn't go to the street, and they usually didn't go to C class. They went to an A class apartment. Then A went to B, B downgraded to C, C to D, and unfortunately, in many cases, D went to the street. So that's what we prefer to invest and to focus on, B and C class apartment buildings, because no matter what the economy is doing, there's always a demand, there's always a trend of tenants coming from above or coming from down below, going upwards or downwards, no matter what the economy is doing. So that's why we prefer to focus on B and C class assets. So just a quick recap of what we talked so far. The properties and the areas have their own classes. The area class is probably a more important thing you need to look at when you look at a multifamily investment. Classes are a sliding scale, anywhere between A and D, and everything in between. An A class would be the higher end, the newer property or area. A B class is about 10 years old, good condition, good area. C class is the 30 to 60-year-old properties, decent condition, blue collar demographics. And D class is your war zone. And then, like I said, we prefer the B and C classes because of the relatively steady demand that doesn't matter what the economy is doing. B and C is in the middle, and they get a lot of incoming flow of demand from above or below. Wrapping this up, my name is Joseph Goslan from Eureka Business Group. I would like to thank you for taking the time and watching this video. If you don't mind, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will appreciate it a lot, and you can always leave comments on the videos for us. We also have a website, ebgtexas.com. You can sign up for our e-newsletter about multifamily news. And I also wanted to mention that in our opportunities that we find, we always look for partners. So if you're interested in learning more about multifamily investing or generate more passive income, horizontal income streams for yourself in order to secure your financial freedom, reach out to us. My email is joseph@ebgtexas, or you can reach us on our contact us form on our website. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon with another video.